Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. Exciting announcement for all of my listeners. I've officially opened my exclusive group, the ProjectME Passive Income Posse, to the public. This group is by application only, so we can keep the group high vibe and spend our time, energy, and expertise only helping those of you who truly want massive success and impact. You get live weekly trainings from me, special guest coaches, and direct access to me and my business partner for all of your questions. To learn more and apply, go to projectmewithtiffany.com, click on Work With Me, and select ProjectME Posse. And of course, any questions, feel free to DM me at ProjectME with Tiffany. Welcome to ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and posse. I'm your host, Tiffany, and I'm doing a little bit of a different episode today. Normally, I am not called to do episodes that where I'm sharing necessarily stuff that's going on in my life in grave detail. I a lot of times feel like that sounds self-serving, or I'm like, you guys really wouldn't be interested in that. So I always, check my ego. And as I teach you, I always pray and sit in what I think, my ideal client, all of you, my Sally Sandabs, what you guys truly need to hear, even if it makes me kind of uncomfortable. So I think there was some resistance in recording this episode because it was so profound and it is highly personal. And I share really personal stuff anyway, but I never want to be one of those people where it's like, oh, I just assume you want to know my deep inner thoughts and everything that's going on in my life, because people like that kind of annoy me. So feel free to tell me if you're like, no, I wasn't really digging this episode. And also tell me if, you are digging it by taking a screenshot, sharing it on social media, tagging me at ProjectME with Tiffany, writing a 5-star iTunes review. That would really help me. So here's why I'm like, okay, I am going to do this episode. It's because there is a really profound, deep lesson in it. And for those of you who are either new to me or have been longtime listeners, love you guys. You can probably gather pretty quickly that I don't fuck around and I'm no bullshit. And I give it to you straight. So I know that you guys, when I tell you something and I give you a play-by-play, I really believe your egos, even your inner bullies, that because we have lots of people living in our heads, don't we? That they can go, wow, okay, Tiffany just gave a play-by-play proof on how and why we need to really trust our intuition, our divine guidance, because look what played out. So that's why I feel this is, so important to record today. So here's what happened. I had a trip planned to Arizona for various reasons. I did not want to fly, but I also didn't want to drive. I'm not a road trip girl. The furthest I've ever driven was the 4 hours from LA to Vegas. And that was a long time ago. Fun fact about me, I used to basically live back and forth between LA and Vegas for about 12 years. For work purposes, clients. I was there so often. So I had major hotel life. It sounds really glamorous. And some of it was. it was also exhausting. But I did try to do the drive a couple times versus fly, because we all know that can get really old, especially when you're flying every week. Yeah. And it didn't go well. It was hot. I've had to pull over one time and take a nap. So I had all that up in my head, but I was like also weirded out by flying right now, because I didn't want to have to unnecessarily expose myself to germs or wear a mask the whole time I'm at the airport and in the airplane, because I have PTSD, and having a covering on my face, even if it's breathable, starts having a nervous system reaction and response for me. I start sweating, my heart starts racing, so obviously not comfortable. So I was like, okay, I had all this resistance around it, and I had a lot of stuff going on in my life. I mean, I still do. We all do. But I mean, I had some key things going on in my life that I was really chewing about in my brain. I mean, to the point of, you know how like when you chew gum way past when you should be chewing it, when that shit's hard and has no flavor, yet you've not spit it out, and now your jaw is starting to hurt? That's what I was doing in my brain. How's that for an analogy? And I was just chewing that old gum, man, and my jaw was hurting, and I finally was like, okay. In one of my pool floating sessions, I'm like, okay, enough's enough. This is not serving me. I need to turn this over to a power greater than myself. I need to surrender this, because I'm not coming up with any answers, any direction, because I'm just chewing it in my brain, and worry, anxiety, depression, all these things were coming up. And I have to remind myself, and I want you guys to remind yourselves, like, we're not meant to figure all this shit out on our own. That's why there's so many other people in this world. That's why it's so important to have a divine connection to spirituality. Whatever that is, for you, it might be nature, it might be God, it might be Jesus, it might be Buddha. It doesn't matter to me. It might be angels, but you need to have a spiritual connection, because without having some sort of connection with a power greater than yourself, this life it becomes really hard, and we cause ourselves a lot of unnecessary worry, panic, stress. Anyway, so I'm floating. I made the decision, the conscious decision. I need to turn this over. You can do this in your head, or you can do it out loud. I sometimes do both. This time I did it in my head while looking at the flowers, looking at the sky. And I just said, like, God, universe, my angels, like, I'm going to turn X, Y, and Z over to you. This is way too big for me. Please show me my next indicated steps. Please guide me in a way that I can clearly understand, with gentleness, love, and ease. So I added that gentleness, love, and ease part, because when I've not added that in the past, I've gotten guidance and it's been like really painful. Not that you can always avoid painful guidance, but I'm slipping it in there. Okay. And I really meant it when I turned it over. I surrendered. And I was like, I mean, for me to surrender, a lot of times I have to be really, really sick of myself. It'd be nice if I could surrender way prior to that point. I'm working on it. So I surrendered, and I believed that it would be taken care of, because I have an evidence bank of getting this divine direction and getting the answers to things that I'm confused about, stuck about, chewing about. I have quite a bit of evidence in my evidence bank. I also have evidence from other people who I trust, people who are strangers, like books I've read. Like, I just finished reading The Surrender Experiment. Fantastic read. Feel free to DM me, and I'll tell you the title if you forget. And it's by Michael Singer. But this is someone who I trust. I don't know him, but I trust him. He's very credible. I could hear what he had to say. And so he has evidence, right, of surrendering and turning things over, and not always, and knowing that the answers will present themselves. And our next indicated step is going to present itself. I have, some close friends that practice this as well. And I've seen the evidence in their life. So I have an evidence bank. I want to be someone in your evidence bank. And that's why I'm sharing the serious shifts that went down in Sedona, starting from the fact that I was chewing so much on should I drive? Should I fly? What should I do? And once I turned it over, it became very clear to me, not in that minute, right? And it's in divine timing when this is unveiled to us. It's not like, I demand from you, God, universe, angels, spirit guides, that you give me the answer right now. Yeah, that doesn't work. Doesn't work when we do that to humans either. So I just trusted it would come. That one came really quickly. Other things, other answers, other guidance take more time, but this came quickly. It's like, you're driving, period. And I was scared. I was really at resistance around driving, not like, oh, driving and get a car accident. I didn't like the idea, quite frankly, of being in the car for 6 to 6.5 hours by myself. It's a lot of time of stillness with my own thoughts. I didn't like that thought. I was like, it didn't sound fun. I kept piling it on, but I just had to trust. And I was like, okay, I'm scared. I have resistance, but I'm doing it anyway. And if, God, the universe, my angels wants me to do something different, that will also be revealed. So it was clear I was driving. It became evident when I was driving why I had to drive. Because I've not had enough uninterrupted stillness with myself. Yes, I meditate. Yes, I pray. Yes, I do my float sessions. Yes, I do yoga. Yes, I take baths, right? But that's a whole different thing than hours and hours and hours of it, of totally uninterrupted. There were tears. There was laughter. There was talking to myself. There was answering myself. There was yelling. I mean, if there was a camera in my car, someone would have absolutely thought like, I've lost my fucking mind. There was me rapping. There was me singing. There was me dancing in my seat. There was me, all the moods, all the things, and it all came pouring out. It was like a cleanse, really. It was like a purging cleanse that had to happen. No wonder I had a resistance, because that's a lot of powerful like energy that was coming up. So it was just amusing to me. I mean, I called my best friend Tracy and I actually Marcoed her. I don't know if you're familiar with that app, but it's like a video texting app. And I Marcoed her. And I go, okay, I get why I had to drive now. And she was really encouraging me to drive as well. So you'll have other people in your life that will also say things or encourage you to do things, because this is also the way God, the universe, your angels can give you guidance, right? So you might hear something on a podcast. You might hear something I'm sharing today. You might read a post I write. You might hear an ad on TV. You might see something in a magazine. You might overhear a conversation at Starbucks. And just know that, the divine works through other people too. And you'll know, because people are like, oh, how do you know? You'll know. You'll know. That doesn't mean you're going to like it, but you'll know. It's kind of undeniable, right? Like Tracy was unwavering in her guidance and her clarity for me to drive. She was really unwavering and in a gentle way, not like you have to drive. It was like, you're driving, like very confident about it. Anyway, so I was marking her, letting her know, okay, I get it. I get why I had to drive. And I started laughing and I was like, all the things. As I was marking her, I crossed the fucking California to Arizona border where there was like, the sign like, welcome to Arizona. And I started to cry because there's another sign. That's pretty cool. Think of the timing. It's a 6-hour drive. I had no idea how close I was. There's tons of fucking desert and tumbleweed before you cross over. And I'm not someone who like keeps checking the map or the time to see how much longer I have. I've never been that kind of person. So I really had no idea how far I was, how close I was. Part of me didn't want to know, because you know how like if you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't fall back asleep, my trick is like, don't ever look and see what time it is, because then you start calculating how many hours of sleep, da 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 da. So I don't look at a clock. I don't even wear a watch anymore. And I have some nice watches. I should sell that shit. Anyway, so I started crying in a good way, out of gratitude, out of feeling so supported by not only, my best friend, but feeling so supported by the universe, by God, my angels, my spirit guides, all the things. I just felt so supported in that moment, and I was proud of myself. I was proud of myself for following through. And to be quite frank, Mike was not someone who was speaking through spirit. He was speaking out of fear. He was trying to be protective of me, and I appreciate that. But he was really resistant to me driving. And I knew that wasn't a divine message. It wasn't like, oh, okay, well, Mike isn't vibing me driving. Maybe this is a sign. You can tell the difference. I knew it was more about him, being a protective nature, right? And him mirroring back a lot of, my own resistance to driving. So I knew that didn't matter to me. It didn't, I didn't pick up on it. So there wasn't some big plan in advance. Like I said, I came to Arizona for other reasons that, aren't necessary or appropriate to disclose. And there was no plan specifically to go to Sedona. There was mention of it, and I've always wanted to go to Sedona. I absolutely believe that it's a powerful place. I've heard amazing stories about the vortexes. My dear, dear friend who he's basically almost like an uncle to me, Steve, has been many, many times. He lives in Arizona, and he lives actually pretty close to Sedona, closer to Sedona. And he's said wonderful things. So I knew I wanted to go someday, but I was like, for me, as an Enneagram 6 and a Virgo, I need that shit planned in advance, like a plan for a plan and another plan, and the shit's mapped out, and I know when and where and what and whatever. So for me to do a trip that's kind of impromptu, where I don't know how many of my other Virgos, Enneagram 6ers are on here or have that personality trait, but wow, I'm not a spontaneous person. I'm spontaneous in my personality, right? Like I can break into a dance move, and I can say random shit, but not when it comes to planning, business, personal life, you name it. So again, Tracy was, I guess the words could be conduit, but of the universe, the angels, the guides. She's like, no, we're going. She asked me, and do you want to go? And I said, I want to go. But I wasn't like, oh, I really want to go. I was like, I want to go. She's like, we're going. And I don't know if she even picked up on this, if she knew this. It doesn't totally matter. She goes, I'm going to get a house for us. And I was like, okay. And she knows that that's like, I'm very particular about where I stay. Like part of it's because I'm bougie. The other part is I'm all about like my surroundings need to be serene. I'm all about safety and security. But this is like realistically, aside from maybe a couple other people, and when I say a couple, maybe two, maybe only one other person in my life, she's the only person I would trust to book a hotel or book a house to where I wouldn't be worried what I was walking into, because she totally, she doesn't diminish or put down like the certain things that I really need. She doesn't blow those off. She takes those into consideration. Anyway, so I was like, okay. I wanted to stay in a hotel just because I thought that would, feel good, because I was staying already in the Phoenician in Scottsdale, which is a beautiful resort. And it felt good to stay in a resort, given we've all been locked up, and you guys know my love for travel. So I wanted to stay in a resort, and she looked into it, and they were just egregious. Like when something is egregiously priced, I can't. Like, I don't give a shit how much money I have in the bank. I can't. I mean, in the rooms, there were like $1,000 a night, $1,200 a night. And it's like, no, that's crazy. So I didn't even know she was going to find a house. So anyway, she did, obviously. And she said she was going to drive. I was still I knew I was going, but I still had fear. Similar fear like I had to driving to Arizona. And I just knew but I trusted, I surrendered all this shit, right? I surrendered. I knew I was going. I knew this was being led by the divine. I trusted it. The drive is not a short drive from Scottsdale to there. I mean, some people might think it's short. It's not short to me because I don't like driving. I think she said it was an hour and a half. It felt like way longer than that. Even though we were talking the whole time, it's because I was so nervous and had so much anxiousness about what was in store for me there. I knew it was something powerful, that the drive seemed like it was forever. And then we started getting closer and I said, wow, this is really, really pretty. She goes, oh, this is not it. You'll see. And I go, okay. I mean, there's lots of desert, but it was still pretty. You saw mountains and, a lot of the mountains looked similar to, what I see here in Southern California, like the Malibu mountains that I live up against. And she goes, just wait. Okay. For those of you who've been there, you'll know what I'm talking about. For those of you who haven't, I can't wait for you to go. We drive around this curve, and I'm not joking you. All of a sudden, there's a full gorgeous skyline of red rock mountains where all I was seeing before were kind of, the brownish, tannish with some green, typical mountain shit. This was vibrant mountains, almost like I was on a movie set. I went, wow. I instantly felt the power. It was overwhelming to me. But I was kind of stuffing it, kind of managing it. But I was like, wow, this is a lot. I'm going to skip some parts that aren't as important. So if you're oh, well, what was the house? The house was everything it was supposed to be. It was nicer than either of us thought because most of the stuff was taken since this wasn't planned in advance. So it was way nicer than both of us thought it was going to be. So it was totally fine. And we went to go eat, and Tracy, which I didn't know about her, she doesn't pick what to eat or where to eat. It's her thing, which is fine because I'm all about that shit. So she's just pick somewhere. So, okay. So I go on Yelp and I do my Virgo Enneagram 6 thing. I'm deep in the reviews. I want to make sure the shit's very on vibe with Sedona and organic. And I wanted to eat a salad from the earth there and all the shit. I don't even remember the name of the restaurant off the top of my head, but so we pull up and Tracy goes, oh my God, I think this is one of my favorite restaurants here. I think it is. And then we walk in, she goes, it is. Oh my God, how weird you picked this. I go, why didn't you just fucking tell me what your favorite restaurant was here? Because then we could have gone to it. She goes, I truly didn't remember the name. And we ended up at one of her favorite places. And it was so cool. I mean, the vibe, all of it. It was exactly what we wanted. And it was one of her favorite places. And we were sitting down waiting for our food. And a song came on over, the speakers fucking started. I'm talking not slight crying, a pretty cry. I started ugly crying. And I was just thank you for bringing me here. Thank you for being connected to, to God, to the angels, to my spirit guides. Thank you for bringing me here because I might have resisted if anyone else was trying to do it because I was scared of this power and this intensity. And I was just sobbing because the amount of energy and a vibration that you feel in this magical place is really fucking intense. And I knew this is where I was going to get this clarity that I've been chewing on that old gum for fucking a long time on some of this shit, you guys. And I was scared, but I was also grateful, and everything all in one. And I didn't give a fuck that I was ugly sobbing in this place. And guess what? No one did either. It was like, yep, this is pretty status quo for here. Then I ended up going to, we both did, but to this amazing energy healer that she's seen before. But this was not planned in advance. And I mean, if you drove around like the town of Sedona, which is way bigger than I thought it would be, it was pretty fucking packed. I mean, clearly, I imagine places like this during times of stress get real. That's why the hotel prices were high, get so crazy booked because people need healing right now more than ever, right? So she did say, like, what are you open to doing here? I said, I'm open to anything. I'm humbled. I'm humbled. I trust how I'm being guided, and I'm open to anything. Even if I'm really uncomfortable with it, I'm going to do it. And she goes, okay, I know what we're doing. And then she made a phone call to this woman who she saw before, who was great. And we were able to get in. And not only were we able to get in, even after where we're eating, and it was like we had some downtime, but downtime at that moment wasn't going to serve me. I mean, think of all that energy I had going on. It wasn't going to fucking serve me. Like I was going to spin and I was going to spin out. And so we walked over to the place, which of course is attached to this incredible like crystal shop with all the books and the things and, salt lamps and all the stuff. And she asked, which I didn't even think to ask, but she asked if like she had availability earlier because we were done eating early, and they did. And she took me right away. It was, and the whole point of this energy healing session is she is an artist and she draws your aura. Is that how you say it? Aura? I think it's aura. I almost said aura. And she draws it, and she, obviously gives some feedback on your energy. Within a couple minutes of her, I mean, this woman's just incredible, but within a couple minutes of her taking my hands and feeling my energy and vibing me, she's like, we're not doing that. You need something much more. And normally those sessions, I think they're like a half an hour or 40 minutes. And we for sure went an hour. And she's like, we can go over because it's your friend who's waiting and you need it. Oh my Lord. I mean, so many things happened, sobbing, so many things came out, so much clarity. It was so powerful. It was so much. And that was just the beginning. And we flash forward to after my session, now Tracy's in hers, I had so much energy and so much stuff running through me and so much. I mean, it was so much. I didn't know what to do with it. And I heard God just say, like, start walking. And I knew to listen. I mean, and it's hot as fuck there right now. It was like 109 degrees. Just start walking. And it wasn't like, oh, there's a trail there to walk. I walked on the sidewalk on the side of the main road there. I don't know. I kept walking, and it could have been for an hour, and it didn't fucking matter. And I just kept walking and walked, so much so I was so far away that when Tracy was done, she came to pick me up. It wasn't like I was going to walk back. I had to keep walking. I had to move that energy through my body. And I'm telling you guys a story, not to be some like advertisement for Sedona or saying like, you have to do like an Eat, Pray, Love Sedona experience in order for you to get the clarity and the guidance that you're craving and you so need. I'm telling you this because when we truly surrender those things we've been chewing on and we're open and willing to slow down, to take in the guidance, to hear the guidance, and to follow the guidance anyway, even when it's fucking terrifying. I'm telling you, that's where the answers are. That's where the healing is. That's where the clarity is. So if you get anything out of this episode, I want you to take time today. You don't have to wait till tomorrow. You don't have to wait till a weekend. You don't have to wait till someone's watching your kids. It doesn't have to be, don't make this harder than it needs to be. We often do that. This could be that you could do this in the shower. I'd prefer you doing it in some form of water. I really would. I don't know why I'm telling you that. I just feel really called to tell you that. It's not because water's so healing for me. So in the shower, in the bath, in a pool, near a pond, a lake, ocean, something. But surrender those things you've been chewing on. It could be for your business. It could be for your health. It could be for your kids. It could be for your relationship. It could be for a friendship. It could be something within your family. It could be money. I want you to surrender and turn that over and ask for that clear guidance and for it to be presented to you in a way that you can clearly understand, and that it is met with you with like love and grace or whatever words that feel good to you. And the most important part is you have to trust and believe once you surrender that the divine guidance and the answers will come. It's not necessarily going to come that day. It's not necessarily going to even come that week. But believe me, they'll come. But you have to believe that. Otherwise, you're going to block that beautiful guidance. And it's going to come in the form of through other people, like I said. Maybe it's come from you listening to this episode. Maybe it comes from you seeing a book on your shelf that you bought and you forgot about. And for whatever reason, you're drawn to it. That's happened to me before. And now you like pick up the book and you're like, what the hell? I bought this. I mean, I picked up a book about 2 months ago. For whatever reason, I was drawn to it. The last time I read it was like something crazy, like 2006. And I was like, why did I wait so long to read this again? And I could see all my notes. I had index cards in there, but I was supposed to read it at that time. So I want you to trust those nudges, and you'll know, because they'll either scare you, where it's like, oh God, they'll scare you, or they'll feel right. There's a knowing in there. No matter how confused you are, I promise it's there. If you guys got something out of this episode, take a screenshot, share it on Instagram, tag me at ProjectME with Tiffany. If you really want to show gratitude for the show, for me, for the people who work behind the scenes here at ProjectME, that, they get lots of appreciation and thanks from me, but they love hearing it from you. Leave a 5-star written iTunes podcast review. If you don't know how to leave a podcast review, literally Google it. How do I leave an iTunes podcast review? And there's like 5 simple steps you follow, and it would take you at the most 90 seconds. In exchange of gratitude and service for you guys doing something like that, I would love to treat you to a coffee drink of your choice, or a blended juice, or a smoothie of your choice. I just need you to leave your name and or your social media handle in the review, and then DM me on Instagram. Let me know you've left it. And then I would be more than happy and honored to treat you to that, for taking the time and just showing my appreciation back to all of you. Wishing you guys great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you guys. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.